What is going on, guys? It is Wrestlelamia here, back with some more news. Join us now as we look at the wildest news stories and rumors you need to know, including Renee and Jon Moxley reveal the gender of their baby, WWE is ready to fire a superstar, Roman Reigns' run ends at 355 days, WWE makes big changes to TLC, more COVID infections in NXT, and much more. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos, and follow us on Facebook for exclusive lists. Oh yeah, I also have a third channel. Please check it out if you can. Now let's hit the intro and get straight into the first story. Now our first story looks at Renee and Jon Moxley revealing their baby gender. And Jon Moxley's announcement on AEW Dynamite that he was going to be a dad surprised and delighted the wrestling world, who congratulated him and wife Renee on their wonderful news. Now Renee has revealed the baby's gender, taking it to Instagram and posting a gender reveal message with a picture of a pink cake, symbolizing she's expecting a girl. Congratulations again to the happy couple, and we're glad that the gender reveal didn't end up like this. Next up, WWE is ready to fire a superstar. It looks like the end may be near for WWE superstar Jaxson Ryker's career. As we noted in our recap yesterday, Ryker's Forgotten Sons teammates Wesley Blake and Steve Cutler returned to the Blue Brand, serving as King Corbin's henchmen. However, Ryker wasn't there, and rumor has it he still has considerable backstage heat on him, stemming from his pro-Trump tweet made last year during the beginning of the protests against police brutality. However, it's arguable that Ryker's 2019 Facebook post about the Black Lives Matter movement angered people further. If you didn't know what it was, he mentioned, "Pretty touchy subject, but all this Black Lives Matter garbage baffles me. I challenge anyone of any color or race to go watch 12 Years a Slave, the movie, and realize how good you actually have it. Learn heritage. Christ, Gandhi, Buddha, they all taught love and caring for others. This is getting out of hand. I pray for this nation daily." Dave Meltzer commented on the situation during the Wrestling Observer Radio, suggesting that Ryker will be shipped out during the next round of WWE cuts. If so, it raises a question as to who else will join him. Who do you think the WWE will release by the end of the year? Let us know in the comments down below. Next up, Roman Reigns' run ends at 355 days. Roman Reigns' impressive 355-day undefeated streak is finally over, with the Tribal Chief's disqualification loss to Kevin Owens and Otis marking his first televised loss since 2019's TLC event when King Corbin defeated him. Now, two things need to be mentioned, however. The first is that Reigns did lose the 2020 Royal Rumble, but that is a match some would argue doesn't count because it's a non-traditional match. The second and more important thing is that Reigns did not compete between February 27th and August 30th due to quarantining himself during the pandemic to protect his family. Nonetheless, it's an impressive record and a reminder of how strong Vince McMahon feels about Reigns' importance to the WWE. Next up, why no one has signed Tessa Blanchard yet. Former Impact World Champion Tessa Blanchard has been out of action after leaving Impact, making an indie appearance but otherwise staying off the wrestling radar. Recently, reports suggested that AEW is not signing Blanchard, who is one of wrestling's top free agents, male or female. However, in an exclusive report, Wrestling Inc.'s Nick Hausman claims that this is not the case. From what we've heard, the reason Tessa has not signed with either company is because she is still celebrating her recent marriage to fellow wrestler Dagger. The two are currently residing in Mexico, where they are waiting out the pandemic before making any further moves. Once the pandemic winds down or gets more under control, the two will be moving back to the States, and she is expected to choose which promotion to sign with. AEW needs a strong female competitor like Blanchard, but the WWE may offer her a lucrative contract just to keep her from signing with the WWE's rival. Tessa's father Tully is in AEW and said presence could play a role in her decision whether to sign with AEW. Where would you want her to go, AEW or WWE? Let us know in the comments down below. Next up, big changes have been made to TLC. Now, while the WWE's plans for TLC seem to be all over the place, the company has announced that Drew McIntyre's WWE Championship defense against AJ Styles will now be a tables, ladders, and chairs match. According to WWE.com, this is the first time the two men have clashed, no pun intended, in singles action, which should only add to the match's appeal. A TLC match between the King of Claymore Country and the Phenomenal One could be the best match Drew has had during his 2 reigns as champion. It's also been reported that WWE's plans for TLC are still moving very slowly, at least according to Ringside News' Steve Carrier, who recently tweeted, "WWE has a lot that they need to figure out for TLC on December 20th. They had to quietly add a stipulation to AJ Styles and Drew McIntyre's match. Right now we're being told that they are running way behind when locking down those final stipulations. More information coming soon." Now, even though the WWE have announced a number of matches, adding the gimmick which actually surrounds the whole pay-per-view at the last minute is pretty much sloppy booking. It just goes to show that these gimmicks are just given together at the last moment and have no thought into them. It's unfortunately something that ruins a lot of these gimmick matches. Next up, big plans for Billie Kay on SmackDown. The WWE Universe was unhappy when the Iconics Billie Kay and Peyton Royce were split up, with the talented team seeming to have no purpose once they split. However, it appears that the WWE may have big plans for Billie Kay on SmackDown. Recently, Adam Pearce, who serves as an authority figure on Raw and SmackDown, tweeted, "It's been suggested that perhaps I could use an assistant. You guys know anyone looking for a gig?" Pearce posted a picture of Billie Kay sharing her resume with Pearce, and Kay has been seen in backstage segments looking for work, and now fans are speculating she might become Pearce's assistant. Given the history of past assistants in wrestling, don't be surprised to see Kay find a way to replace Pearce, becoming the boss on SmackDown and possibly even on Raw. What do you guys think of this potential storyline? Let us know in the comments down below. Next up, a Dynamite episode not airing? Now, while TNT is very happy with Dynamite's ratings, the Warner Media-owned network has prior obligations that take precedent over Dynamite, which means the show sometimes is bumped out of its Wednesday night time slot. Now, this could happen again as TNT is scheduled to air an opening season game of the NBA at 7:30 p.m. and a second at 10:30 p.m. Dave Meltzer mentioned on Wrestling Observer Radio that the second game could air on ESPN, giving AEW a chance to air Dynamite later on Wednesday. Next up, more NXT stars test positive for coronavirus. Dave Meltzer is reporting that more NXT stars have tested positive for COVID-19. According to Meltzer, there were a couple more positives in NXT this week. Nobody in War Games, but not like unknowns either, but nobody at War Games. During this segment on Wrestling Observer Radio, Meltzer explained that tests were going to be held on 5th December and that any other positive results could impact tonight's NXT TakeOver War Games pay-per-view. The Black and Gold brand continues to have COVID cases, leading to questions how much the WWE is monitoring the spread of the disease and working to stop it. Next up, a spoiler and rumor on AEW Revolution's main event. It looks like AEW may have its main event for AEW's next pay-per-view, Revolution. According to the latest Observer, it was Moxley's first singles loss since the company started, and it appears the idea is Moxley trying to get back the title for the company and sets up in theory a bigger match for the Revolution pay-per-view on 27th February. This could be a huge match, especially if AEW adds a stipulation. AEW doesn't do rematches too often, but an Omega vs Moxley rematch may be worth doing. And finally, the expensive gift The Undertaker gave to the Godfather every night they were drunk. Last but not least, the road stories involving The Undertaker and his friend The Godfather are many and legendary, but one constant theme runs through Taker's drinking bouts with The Godfather: his constant need to gift his expensive Rolex watch to his friend. Taker recalled this reoccurring scenario during his appearance on the Broken Skull sessions, telling Steve Austin how he'd get loaded and gift his pricey watch to The Godfather. "I'd give it to The Godfather like, 'Brother, I love you.' I'd be so out of my mind. 'Brother, I love you, brother.' And he'd go, 'I love you too, man. We're good, right? Here, I want you to have this.' He'd be like, 'Nah, man, I ain't taking your Rolex.' I'd give it to him and the next morning he'd give it back to me. Can't tell you how many times I gave The Godfather my Rolex. Damn, I need to have a drunken night out with The Undertaker, but I ain't giving back that Rolex." But there you have it, guys, the wildest news stories and rumors you need to know in wrestling. Be sure to leave your comments down below, subscribe if you haven't already, follow us on Instagram and Facebook for exclusive lists, and check out Incredible if you can. And I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.